In our last video, we used a Cybertruck to haul a 150-year-old pool table worth $150,000 across the country. And the internet had a lot to say about it. But we didn't buy this truck just to look cool. We bought it because for our business, the numbers actually made sense. At the end of this video, you might realize why a Cybertruck might just be a great investment for your company. Now we're handing it off to Cameron to tell us why. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content.
In the last video we posted, we got a ton of comments. Everybody wanted to know how crazy I was for buying a Cybertruck. In today's video, we're going to break down the math. We're going to explain exactly why we chose to buy one. And by the end of this video, you might buy one too. So, Cybertruck versus reality. What's the actual expenses that we had for our repair bills on our gas-powered vehicle? We had a 2019 ProMaster. We have a 2018 Isuzu MPR vehicle. Those are our delivery vehicles. When we had the opportunity to pick up this table out in Phoenix, Arizona, it was right after our van had just broke down. And so our motor locked up on it. This had been a long time and a lot of nightmare experiences with this thing. We had transmission go out. We had one of our guys, me specifically, was driving the van. I hit a deer. We had to do a radiator replacement. That incurred other problems and more problems after that. We get the radiator fixed, starts leaking again. We just couldn't stop it from leaking. Then the motor eventually blew on it, and I was getting repair bills of $15,000, where last year I spent $15,000 in repairs between the Isuzu and the van last year alone. So I broke those down here. So these are all the expenses we had for it. We had $9,217 in gas expense for our vehicles. We spent $16,000 in transmission repair last year. New brakes were $2,500, and then the quote for the engine was $15,000 to get a brand new engine put in that vehicle, totaling what would have been $45,000 last year in vehicle repairs. So as a business owner, I'm looking at this, I'm like, dude, we are spending a ton of money on vehicle repairs. So I'm like, what's the alternative? Can I buy something that has less maintenance? Why is it when I go to a repair shop, the vehicles aren't being repaired properly? Why am I having to go back? Why am I having to check behind somebody who's repairing a transmission, who's repairing a radiator? It's a pain in the ass. I said, dude, I'm done with this. So I started to look. So that's where the Cybertruck comes in. That's when I said, okay, look at this Cybertruck. I own a Tesla Model 3. That's my daily driver. I'm like, let me see what it's about. Can it fit a pool table? Can we make this thing work? So I started doing some research. It's an electric vehicle, so there's $0 we spend in gas. We plug it up here at the shop. Our power bill increased about $120 a month. So it's, roughly, we're saving money on gas. Transmission repair. It doesn't have a transmission. There's no transmission to replace. There's no gears to go out. There's no transmission gears to overheat. All the freaking things that could go wrong with the transmission, combustible engines, all that kind of stuff. Brakes. This is probably one of the biggest selling points because we replace brakes about once a year. That's $2,500 a year. The brakes on a Cybertruck, they have generators in all four wheels. So when you lift off the gas, the truck slows down. Thus, you're never actually using the brake pedal unless you're having to heavy brake. Tesla actually recommends that you use the brake from time to time so that your brake pads stay ready when you need the brakes. So essentially, our brake cost over 100,000, 200,000 miles might be zero because we're never really using the brakes. Engine repair. This is something that's very interesting. So you've got dual motors. We actually had something that happened under warranty. One of our motors overheated, and with all the technology built into a Tesla Cybertruck, we have dual motors. So one overheated, we were still able to operate the vehicle with the other motor. Got in contact with Tesla. They said, yeah, bring it by our service station. I brought it by the service station. They put a new motor in it, same day. Gave me a rental Cybertruck we could drive. Drove it for a couple days, came back, got our Cybertruck back. Easiest experience I've ever had with a service center. I've done repairs with other service centers like Dodge and some other manufacturers where, dude, they have the truck for 2 weeks. I delivered the truck, got a same truck back, right? A loaner model. Continued to operate my business. While they fixed it, all under warranty, gave me the truck back, no questions asked, and they cleaned it, detailed it, all the standard stuff a dealership would do. But we could still use the truck when the motor was blown. because it had 2 motors. I drove it to the service center. I didn't have to buy a tow truck. That's another $125, $135 depending on distance, right? When our van broke down before I bought this Cybertruck, I spent $300 to get it towed to the nearest dealership. So like that in itself is very convenient for us. My expense for the Cybertruck was a $15,000 deposit, which is essentially the way I justified it in my brain, was I could buy a new motor for that combustible engine that's probably gonna break down again, and I'm gonna have another $20,000, $30,000 in repair every single year. The van cost me $23,000. So I'm spending more in repair per year than I actually paid for the whole vehicle. $15,000 deposit. There's superchargers everywhere in the country. Well, we only really pulled the trailer with the Cybertruck for that specific instance. But over the long-term value of it, this is the way I saw it. I'm like, I'm gonna save $20,000, $30,000 by buying this vehicle because I'm eliminating all these expenses. Not just that, it's how much money do we lose when our vehicles are down, right? I got the upgraded self-driving with it. It had the $7,500 tax credit. Like at the end of this whole purchase from a business deal, it made great sense for us to do this. So I just wanted to break this down to show you guys, because not a lot of people know. Like I want you to look at your own repair bills. How often are you changing oil? We do about 100,000 miles a year. That's like 30 oil changes, right? Every 3,000 miles. It sucks. We don't want to do 20, 30 oil changes a year. It's $120 every time you do an oil change. Now it's basically a 2-hour affair. I'm paying $40 for a guy. It ends up costing me $200, $300 to get my oil changed. I don't ever have to change oil in this. Count up your oil bills. How often are you replacing brakes? Okay. Count up any engine repair. Did your motor overheat, right? Have you ever hit a deer? Every single time I had to do a transmission cooler replacement, and it cost me a transmission. So I don't have a transmission in this vehicle. We have autopilot. We can punch in the address. It calculates our trip, routes everything. My guys can hit start driving. It's less liability on my end because the truck's driving itself. It's super safe. Like the technology they have is unbelievable. And then for instance, one instance, we had a guy who fell asleep and ran our delivery vehicle off the road. Didn't hit anyone, didn't damage anything. We were very lucky in this sense, but it could have been really, really bad. That would never happen in the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck would correct you, get back on the road, and if you're navigating with autopilot, it's never gonna have a problem, right? Like I feel so confident. Now obviously, disclaimer, I'm not a Tesla sales rep. Tesla doesn't sponsor us. It's just the math. It's common sense to me. Like I break down the numbers and I'm like, it doesn't make sense for me to buy a combustible engine with all these damn repair bills. And then if it's down for 1 or 2 days, you know, let's say a week, now I'm renting trucks. That'll cost me $300, $400 a day to rent a Penske truck, to deliver our stuff. Like I'm gonna incur so many expenses. It just, in my brain, I was like, there's no better way to do it. One other thing I wanted to mention on here, during that specific trip, the bill to rent a Penske from Phoenix and drive it back to Greenville was $5,500. I'm like, by the time I replace the engine and rent a Penske, I'm gonna be in something for $20,000 to pick this up. I might as well buy something that's gonna return on my investment much longer. That's ultimately why we decided to buy a Cybertruck. I would tell you to look into it. It's not good for towing trailers. Not necessarily, maybe you could tow a boat if you're within proximity, right, from like your storage to the dock. Probably work good with that instance. I have to say, when it towed the trailer, probably the best towing vehicle I've ever driven in my life. It's just the drag. So if you had an open trailer, right, something that was below the truck, it probably would do really, really well. For us, having that U-Haul trailer, it was a 16-foot trailer, 7 foot tall, whatever. It was taller than the truck itself. So the air was hitting the trailer as it went over, and that was causing so much drag. That's why we weren't getting the mileage that we should have been getting. I wouldn't recommend it to tow anything. I knew it was gonna be one trip. I knew it had one specific use case for a trailer, and then we busted out the back windshield, and now we can fit pool tables in the back of this thing. Plenty enough room. It's the best vehicle. So while one guy said, I think he said more money than common sense, this makes a whole lot of sense to me. And it saves me a lot of money. So if this makes you think that you might want to buy a Cybertruck, we went ahead and put a link down in the description. It is my referral link. I'm only going to get $250 in supercharging credits. But if this convinced you to maybe go look at a Cybertruck or a Tesla or anything like that, use my link down below and then rent one out, try it. The first time I used it, it's like the first time I used a smartphone. The craziest experience behind the wheel. Only buy a Tesla if you're going to get the autopilot. Obviously, there's a lot of other reasons to buy one, right? We covered that today, but the autopilot is the one separator of all vehicles. It's like the first time you used a smartphone. When you use this, it makes driving feel like the Stone Age. It's like, dude, I'm a Flintstone driving a car now. We hop in the van and I'm driving and I'm like, dude, what the heck am I doing? Because I can get so much more work done behind the wheel when it's on autopilot. You take a road trip, physically, you don't have the physical lag. We literally just drove to Memphis yesterday. It was like an 18, 19-hour day, all in the Cybertruck, all on autopilot. Man, I felt super refreshed. So check it out. This is why we chose to buy a Cybertruck, and you might get one too.